came to Philly when I was about 9 years old, and I've been here ever since. Since I was a teenager, they've always talked about Hunting Park being a bad area, but it's been a blessing because there's the light. There's the light. People fail to see the light. They see the darkness, but they don't see the light. The mother of my granddaughter came to live with me. She was in a bad situation and she needed help. And because of my granddaughter, I opened the doors to her, to my home. And then things spiraled out of control. The mother started using a substance. And that's when I realized that my granddaughter could not be with her any longer. You hear some horror stories in foster care, and there's different motives for people becoming foster parents. And I wanted my granddaughter to be in a home where she is loved, where she felt this is her home. And I didn't want her to become part of the system, to be lacking the love of a family. So I knew that as a grandmother that I had to fight this battle. I would have to take charge of my granddaughter and be her caretaker.
Naomi's a grandmother, I'm a grandmother. I'm a mother, a parent, and I love my grandkids and I'm very involved, but I wouldn't want to have to raise my grandchildren. But in Naomi's case, because she worked for DHS, she saw what happened in the court system. She knew how sometimes it was just a disastrous result. She already had de facto or physical custody of this grandchild, but medical decisions, providing health insurance, getting the child into daycare, getting the child into school. Without a custody order, no one would even talk to the grandmother.
My uncle bought the house right after he left the Army in the 50s. My grandmother came to live there. When they passed, my sisters started living there. One day they got a letter saying that they were being sued because somebody got hurt on the property. It was a crack. He said he tripped on a crack in the sidewalk. They never met the person, and they thought it was a scam at first, somebody just trying to get paid. And then it was almost a year later, we got legal documents. He was asking for $150,000, much more than the house was worth. That's what really frightened my sisters and myself, that the house could be lost in the case.
It was emotionally very difficult for me, and a lot of things were coming into my head. I'm separating her from her mother. I mean, that's a very difficult thing to deal with. How do I get the mother out of my house? How do I confront her with her substance abuse? And, you know, I retired, so I didn't have the same kind of income that I had before. I prayed a lot that God would give me the strength to do what was necessary.
Sylvester first came to the clinic in the beginning of 2015. He was on the wrong end of what I would say is a predatory personal injury case. There was a plaintiff that was looking for some money for an injury. He sued multiple houses, not knowing where he fell exactly, and one of the houses that Sylvester was associated with got involved in a lawsuit. This is one of those cases where somebody who put his name out there to help his family got swept into a lawsuit that he had no business being in.
Sylvester's a really good guy and a very family-oriented man, and he was really the victim of no good deed goes unpunished. He didn't live at the house, he doesn't own the house, but he was easily sued and found himself in a situation where it was really hard to get out of.
People are going through systems and they don't understand them, but yet everything's on the line, right? Freedom, being taken away from your families. You realize that it is not meant for people to understand. It is meant to be understood by the professionals. From what I've seen, there isn't a lot of time taken to help people process those things. It's just kind of sign here, sign there, this is the deal, take it, not, you know. And they're not an integral part of the decision making, even though they're the most impacted, right?
But the Bible says it like this: for lack of knowledge, my people are destroyed. They lack the resources of funds or those who have the capability and capacity to do what needs to be done.
If you have the money, you pay your lawyers and then they handle all the headaches. But they prey on people who don't, you know, there's nobody to help them. They're all alone. Elderly people or people who can't afford representation, don't know about representation.
I knew I would have to go to court and present my side of the story. I knew that it was going to be a lot of work regarding the legal issues and what I had to do.
We're the largest city in the state, one of the largest cities in the United States. So people don't necessarily get the attention they should get, or they're told things that aren't true, so that they, you know, come in the door and, well, no, you can't file, or don't you know where he lives? You can't file. You know, when I go to court, I'm a lawyer. When I go to file something, there's nobody that tells me you can't do that. I mean, I just do it another way. I said, okay, so what do I need? Tell me what I need.
There were 3 court hearings, and Regina, who's the attorney, came 3 times and followed through. She put her heart into it. You don't get that from many lawyers. She could see my pain. I mean, she could see my pain, and she reassured me that things would get better.
When you have a big firm coming after you for thousands and thousands of dollars, you get nervous and you don't know what to do. And I think other people in his situation who don't have the clinic to fall back on, many times just sort of hunker down and hope it goes away. And if Mr. Whittington did that, he would have had a sizable judgment entered against him.
My sister told me about an appointment she had at the Salvation Army where we could talk to a lawyer. I never even asked her how she found the Salvation Army. I didn't know they even had lawyers that helped people pro bono. But they were a godsend. We felt a whole lot better about it.
How in the world am I going to get this money? How in the world am I going to, I don't know where to start. But when someone starts the conversation to deal with going into the issues and going into the concerns that they don't even want to look at, but then finally got the hope, or got the courage enough to show up and open their mouth up, and then things start to unravel. It said, well, maybe if I got help here, maybe there's hope over here and over here. And that becomes the spark of hope. Christian Legal Clinic of Philadelphia, along Salvation Army, I see this as a hope ministry.
In the last 5 years, we've gone from 2 clinics to 10 clinics, and from about a dozen attorney volunteers to over 130. What we'd really like to do is to get more involved with clients. So cases like Naomi and Sylvester's, where an attorney picks up the case and runs with it and finishes it and wins it, accomplishes something for the client, is where we want to be as a ministry.
There are certain kinds of law that really meet the needs of people. Family law, criminal law, bankruptcy, landlord-tenant.
Of all the cases at CLCP, I would venture to guess that about half of them have family law components to them. Those would include custody, support, abuse matters, adoption issues.
The more we take on family cases, the more I realize how great the need is. The root of a lot of what we see problem-wise in our communities is family-related.
The more clients that we've seen, we realize the biggest need in Philadelphia's legal system is for family lawyers. And so we've tried to gear up ourselves to learn family law, to be able to go to family court, to be able to help clients in family law matters.
So one of the things we want to do in the coming year is hire a full-time family law attorney. We really want to work in strengthening and supporting the families in our communities.
We were looking for a part-time Spanish-speaking receptionist and praying about it. And I saw Naomi on the street, and I just asked her if she was interested in the job.
I told Pete and Miss Moore that Kayla was my priority. I'll work here part-time, but that Kayla was my priority, and they understood that. So they gave me hours where it was flexible for me to leave at a time where I could pick her up from school and then do what was necessary.
We often had to lock our door before we hired her. People would get an answering machine when they called our office. So it's been something that we've needed for years. I thought she would be great, but she's better than I ever imagined. But she's the first person that people see when they walk in the building. She's just so enthusiastic. She's such a strong spiritual woman. And because she knows the system and because she speaks Spanish, she's been taking a lot of burdens off of a paralegal so that we can help more clients.
Many people in this community are low income. They have no idea what the justice system is like. They have no idea of the legal binds that they could get into. When they're sitting there waiting, or if they come to my desk and ask for an appointment or what the process is, I've been there so I can empathize with them. I have 2 other grandchildren, and they're in my heart, but my Kayla is in the root of my heart. She's doing well academically, and she knows she is loved by my family, by me, so she's real secure in those areas. You know, even when she comes here with me to the clinic, the attorneys here show her love and affection. And I often say to Ms. Moore, it's shared custody. Christian legal clinics here also have shared custody with my granddaughter because they're helping me raise her.